And so the sexually explicit videos and pictures were exclusively coming from you to the 11-year-old, because I know you had sex, you just admitted to, with a 14-year-old. And that was another incident. So
welcome back to Get Your Life. Today we have a parole hearing of a Chomo, a pedophile, a predator, and he was convicted for messing with underage girls, and he did it using video games. So this is a very important lesson to be learned, and we get insight on how he was committing these crimes, and it's just, something to think about to people who have children, such as myself. This is why we keep a close eye on what our kids are doing, who they're talking to, even on the game consoles. But he's trying to get out early on parole, and he puts up a good front the entire time. So let's take a listen.
Civil Rider, ARDC Supervisor.
All right, thank y'all. Thanks for accommodating us today. We have Mr. Kaiser. Is that you?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Mr. Kaiser, would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and DUC number.
My name is Trent Kaiser. My DUC number is 751882.
Mr. Kaiser, I don't know if you can see our nameplates. My name is Cheryl Renatza. Seated to my left is Mrs. Stapleton. To my right is Mrs. Ledoux. Before we get started, I'd like to acknowledge and recognize the folks who have joined us here with us in Baton Rouge. We have your great aunt and uncle, Les Hoss and Holly Hoss. On Zoom together with Miranda Kaiser, Titan Kaiser, and Jewel Ammerman. They're all together with Miranda. On Zoom, we have Christine Ellerbrock, a friend, and then also Mary Heater, your other grandmother. And Titan and your grandmother Mary will be speaking, and here your great uncle Les will be speaking on your behalf, and we'll call them in at the appropriate time to do so. We also have joining us a representative from the District Attorney's Office in Jefferson Parish, and he'll be closing it out for us with his remarks. First, let me read some identifying information, Mr. Kaiser, into the record. Then I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Ledoux. Your case has been assigned to her. Once we finish with our interview, we'll hear from Morgan Thompson and then from those who want to speak today. You ready?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Trent Kaiser is classified as a first felony offender, currently serving a 10-year sentence, having been sentenced in Jefferson Parish February 6, 2020, for indecent behavior with a juvenile. Mr. Kaiser's parole eligibility date was January 9th, 2023. Mr. Kaiser does not earn good time. Full term date is September 10, 2029. Is that information correct, Mr. Kaiser?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, would you answer Mrs. Ledoux's questions, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, Mr. Kaiser. If I'm not mistaken, you had a charge that you pled guilty to in Indiana for possession of child pornography. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you serve any time, or what was the sentence on that particular charge?
The sentence for the child pornography charge up there was level 6, and they gave me 1 year, but do 6 months in county jail.
So did you serve the 6 months in the county jail?
Yes, ma'am.
So you're really a second-class offender. Okay. How long have you had the problem with child pornography addiction and concerns? When did you get involved in that?
Really, I was never involved in actual child pornography itself, but I have had an issue with pornography just in general, like videos and pictures from other women, but just child pornography, I've never had an issue with that in particular.
I see. Well, I do know that you have completed all 4 phases of your sex offender treatment.
Yes.
And that's That's excellent. I'm very glad to see that. But also in reading the report, and let me just notate that we have over 100, about 115 pages of documentation. And I've read these several times. And I read in your documentation that you also had admitted that you had sexual relationship with a 14-year-old.
Yes, ma'am.
And how old were you at that time?
I was 19 at that time.
So you were an adult and she was 14. How old was the victim in this particular case?
The victim of this case was 11.
And it's my understanding that you were aware that she was 11 years old.
Yes, ma'am.
How did you initially make contact with an 11-year-old?
How I initially made contact with her was on a video game online. And at that time is that we were in a event itself, playing a different event, and that's how I initially contacted her herself. So we went to talking on the headset, but then that is when I actually individually messaged her on the Xbox console itself, and that's when I eventually carried out talking to her from there. So that's how I originally met her.
Have you met other young girls that way as well? Is that how you developed some relationships in the past, or?
That with her being 11, I have not talked to any other girls within that age frame that I've, in person or online. I've never talked to anyone besides that.
But under the age of 17?
Not even really around the age of 17, no.
Okay. So tell me how you feel about that. I noticed that you have a child. Do you have a child?
Yes, ma'am.
Boy or girl?
A girl.
How do you feel about what you did now?
Honestly, with me now having a daughter of my own and knowing what I did to this victim, it sickens me personally to know that I actually did that.
Your conduct within prison was could be considered decent, but you've had two write-ups, and the last one was just in May of last year. It was an aggravated disobedience. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about that. What happened in that situation? That's a high court write-up.
Well, what happened at that particular write-up with aggravated disobedience is I had a call out that morning, I believe, 8:30, 9 o'clock to see Miss Sledette about a mail situation. The mail I was received was rejected, but I was not given a reason why. So I went to talk to her about that. And before I left, I did not have my bread properly made. So as the write-up states that Mr. or Sergeant Sanchez came down the tier and gave me a verbal order. But in the write-up, he states that he gave me a verbal order, but I was never on the tier at that time. I was at my call out. So as in the write-up states, he gave me a verbal order to get my bed made, and I defied his order and didn't do so. But at that time that right was made, I was on the call. I was on the yard for maintenance or yard call.
Okay. So, what would be your plans if you were to be released? What would be your plans?
My plans, if I were to be released, would be to go back home, immediately start taking my classes that I'm required of me to take for my charge and my offense, along with getting my job in order that I do have planned for me when I get home, along with trying to make amends with my wife and trying to get things together so I can start seeing my daughter.
So you're married?
Well, currently, me and the mom are not talking out on any circumstances, period. But that is also due to things I have done to her and how I abused her mentally when we were together. So with that happening, and I'm giving her space that she requested, letting her take her time, and at that time we are not talking at all, as she said. And until then, I will not be talking to her until she gives me the go-ahead to do so.
Okay, so you're still married, but you're not in a
No.
complementary relationship. Okay. At this point, Ms. Renata, I don't have any further questions. All right, I have, you have some questions?
Yeah, I was gonna ask, speaking further on your wife, was she aware? I mean, you must have been spending a lot of time playing these video games and stuff. Was she aware of this sexual pornography between you and children, or sexual pornography in the home?
I don't believe that she was aware, to my knowledge, no.
She didn't become aware until you were arrested?
Yes.
The 11-year-old, from what I understand, this became was discovered with her parents whenever you asked her to send some explicit sexual photographs of her and she refused. Is that correct? And if not, how did it happen that it was exposed with the 11-year-old?
At the part where she refused is I do remember I asked her for a specific picture and she said no. So I asked again and she said no. So once she said no the second time, I let off with that. But then it went from the Snapchat to the Facebook Messenger. That's where, because on the Snapchat, I asked her if she had a Facebook account. And that was she gave me her full name. So that is why I hit her up on the Facebook Messenger and started talking to her from there also. And that's where everything else ensued. As for other pictures and videos, whatever else I said.
And so the sexually explicit videos and pictures were exclusively coming from you to the 11-year-old, because I know you had sex, you just admitted to, with a 14-year-old. And that was another incident. So that was in Indiana, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you from Indiana?
Yes, ma'am.
You are. So that child was in your area, correct?
Yeah, my same county jail, yes.
Did you meet her the same way through Facebook? Was it something like that?
Me and her went to school together, but different grades.
Okay. All right.
So we didn't start really talking until Facebook.
So Facebook again
Yeah,
was introduced y'all to each other, and then it became more of a conversation. Did you send her sexually explicit photos too, like you did the 11-year-old? Did she get that ahead of time? Y'all just met up and did you have sex then? And
yes, ma'am.
did it continue? How was that discovered?
We only had, to my knowledge, it only happened once that we actually had sex.
Okay.
And it did not come into light until honestly that I had the arrest warrant for down here issued, and that's when I got arrested up there for the charge down here, the arrest warrant. And so I went and got locked up in Miami County Jail. A couple days after that is when I initially, I'm sorry. I confessed to them when they came and got me for my arrest warrant at the same time they spoke to me. That is when I went to the police state post and I did a polygraph on that. That is when it came to light.
I understand. Okay, that I was just wondering, it's so far away, Indiana and Louisiana, how that happened. And I know you've taken the sexual offender courses, so I'm sure they talked to you about the consequences of the horrible nature for a child to see the kind of pictures that you sent to them, right?
As for the victim impact, it did help me to see the bigger picture of how not you, but how the victim in particular was hurt. Like as for her, I know that she's been through a lot of stuff since that day has happened, and that she has gone through a life-changing event that she may not be, that she will need therapy with, just help with professionals.
Right.
So in that regard, I do understand completely now what I have put her through.
Right.
But as the risk management class, that class has taught me a lot in the ways of me knowing I have a sex addiction, a porn addiction. That class in particular has helped me to know what I need help with. And just like, for instance, the class, you have risk factors that show you particular what you need help with. That's what has helped me greatly in me getting my help I need.
Well, that's excellent, to know which classes had certain impacts on your crime. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome, man. But like I said, is that those two, the risk management is one of those I do greatly appreciate, whereas it has helped me to know what I need help with specifically. And the victim impact helps me to know what she has been through from the time it started till now.
Yes, which is what it's designed to do.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Kaiser, I want to thank you for being very honest with us today. You know, we usually don't get that from someone, so it's very much appreciated. I was
Well,
going to ask you a little bit about the victim impact, but you've already explained that and what you got out of it, so.
and see the victim impact, I would say is that as they teach you is that, and this goes back to my daughter, is that my daughter was born a year and three, or not, 1 month and 2 days after I was initially locked up. So with me now having a daughter of my own, it really puts me in that spot as they teach you in class, what if it happened to you? How would you feel about that? I would, pardon my language, but I would be really upset if that happened to my daughter. Because now that I have matured and grown in how I see that and know what happened, I won't want that for my kid at all, no way.
So how old are you now, Mr. Kaiser? I may have missed that.
I am 27 right now, ma'am.
Yeah, September is your birthday. And you've been in jail how long here in Louisiana?
I got sentenced February 6th of 2020, but I did not get extradited down here until September 12th of 2019.
Because you were in jail in Indiana during that time?
Yes, doing both jail time and prison time.
Right. So how much time have you been in jail altogether?
I would say roughly, with the 7 years down here, the 2 up there, roughly 9 years altogether. No, about 7, 8 years altogether, my bad.
So I don't have any other questions of you. Warden Thompson, is there anything you can add to the conversation?
No comments, please.
All right. So at this time, Mr. Kaiser, we're going to hear from the folks who want to speak on your behalf. And first, we'll take the folks on Zoom, and let's start with let's see, Titan Kaiser, your brother.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. 1 second. Sure. Can you still hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, sorry, I was moving from section of the house. I didn't know if you guys could still hear me or cut off.
Yeah. And so if you could be stationary, it would help us out a lot because it makes us dizzy when you're moving.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Go ahead.
My name is Titan Kaiser. I'm Trent Kaiser's older brother. I'm 29. I think he's learned his lesson from incarceration, and he knows what's wrong and right now versus where before he was immature, kind of like everybody else, and don't necessarily know the wrong from right. I myself was incarcerated, and since I've been out, I've got a job within 2 weeks. I'm doing everything that I need to do. Um, I have I have a house. I have 2 brand new cars. I'm currently making $60,000 a year. I think he could do the same if given the opportunity, Your Honor.
And you're in Indiana?
Yes, I'm in Indiana as well.
Well, good. Well, congratulations on your success, and thanks for taking the time to speak with us this morning. I understand your grandmother, Ms. Jewel, is there also. She has declined to speak in favor of allowing some other speakers. So we'll go ahead and move on to Ms. Mary Heater, also grandmother.
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Okay. I'm Mary Heater. I'm Trent's grandmother. And I just want to say that growing up, Trent was always a good, loving kid. He had a learning disability, which caused him to struggle through school, but he still managed to graduate high school when he was 19. He never caused trouble and never got in any trouble throughout his childhood. Trent lived most of his life with me or within walking distance of my house. Trent never did drugs or drink. On his 21st birthday, he wanted to have a campfire with family instead of going to a bar like most kids do when they turn 21. Trent was baptized after he was incarcerated. He has taken many Bible study classes and has a good number of certificates for completion of those studies. While incarcerated, Trent has completed all of his required classes, and I feel he has learned a lot through them. Trent will be living with me when he is paroled. He has a lot of family members that are ready to step up and help him get back on his feet when he gets out. I would just ask that you will approve his parole so that he can become the productive young man that I know he is capable of.
Thank you. We appreciate you taking the time to be with us, Ms. Heater. Now we'll hear from Mr. Haas, who's here with us, sir.
Thank you and good morning. My name is Les Haas. My wife Holly is Trent's great aunt, making me his great uncle. Twice retired, first as an Air Force officer and again as a financial advisor, and Holly is a retired teacher. I thought Trent was not ready to be released, despite being a family member, I would not be here today. As Holly and I are relatives in the area, and his family lives across the country, we stepped in to support Trent. We would visit and provide company and emotional support, use our life skills and experiences to mentor him with advice, motivate him to use his time wisely by studying and doing self-improvement. Most importantly, we wanted to encourage him to get and stay close to God. We first visited Trent in October 2021. My impression was he's an easygoing, simple guy. But I was surprised how much he knew about religion, sports, environmental politics, and nothing even went. Something really struck me on our visit mid-March this year. As we were discussing political issues, he turned the topic to the debates between our politicians regarding the sexualization of young children. How ironic, I thought, based on the mistake he made. With unexpected enthusiasm, his raw feelings came out as he became emotionally charged and railed against drag shows and book readings for little kids by drag queens. He was very upset about how advocates supporting pedophilia were trying to bring it into mainstream society by rebranding it as youth attractive individuals. He expressed deep concern how these issues might affect his daughter. This was huge. The turning point was cemented in my mind, that he had matured a great deal since his crime. He was no longer the young, immature adult making stupid, self-gratifying decisions, but now is a mature man who understands responsibility. It showed that he truly comprehended the hurts, confusion, and other negatives that apply to victims who suffer from being sexualized juvenilely. It proved that he has flipped. Instead of being a predator, he is firmly on the side of those who want to protect our young and understands the responsibility that we as a society have to protect our youth in all ways, especially sexual innocence. Trent has never met his 6-year-old daughter, still in her formative years, and needing her father's love and support. I have no doubt that Trent is ready to step into that role. There are many negative statistics about daughters growing up without fathers, and perhaps he can help her overcome or at least mitigate the probability of some of these negative outcomes. A major concern I have is that staying in prison may result in him being picked on. Though he's nonviolent and would never initiate a fight, he is thin and slight in build, and an easy target for troublemakers. If he stands up for himself, he may end up in trouble, perhaps starting a downward spiral, decreasing his sentence of being denied parole. As mentioned earlier, Holly and I had a goal to mentor Trent about his spirituality. We found he did not attend any church services and was mostly unfamiliar with organized religion. He did inform us, however, that he was taking a Bible study course and was praying with a few guys with special intentions for loved ones. We were surprised that he listened to American Family Radio, Christian-based program. Their discussions are tempered with a moral compass that encourages people to live the right way, God's way, not man's way. It's uncommon for young adults to listen to moral-based religious talk radio, and I think this says a lot about where Trent is. He is accomplishing spiritual self-improvement by taking theology online courses, and is excited that he can earn an associate's degree. I'm not sure where this will lead him, but the young man is in the process of crafting his heart as well as his mind.
Mr. House, can you wrap it up for us?
Yes, ma'am. In summary, I feel that Trent has fully owned the hurt he caused by his crime and has progressed to the point of being an advocate of protecting the young from such things. His daughter would benefit by having a father's support. Remaining in prison is an easy target for troublemakers, puts him at risk of a downward spiral. Most importantly, Trent is morally matured and is turning into a man of God. For these reasons, I wholeheartedly encourage you to grant him parole. Stake my reputation that Trent is not at risk to society.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate your remarks. Now, before we turn it over to the district attorney's office, Trent, is there anything you'd like to say to us? A statement?
Firstly, what I want to say first is I want to apologize to my victim, who this case is for, and I know I have hurt tremendously as a kid and growing up. For, as my family has says, is I have grown maturely, tremendously, mentally, of knowing what I have done, and knowing what was wrong and right, and realizing what I have done and the impacts it has actually had on them. So I would like to apologize to her first and asking her family for forgiveness. But also with you guys, I want to thank you for this opportunity for granting me a hearing and hopefully granting me parole so that I can go out there and use everything I've used in these classes and my risk management and helping me get the help I need that I deserve and be the dad that my daughter deserves.
All right, thank you very much. We'd like to hear from the district attorney's office now, Mr. Meyer.
Good morning, Randy Meyer, Assistant DA, Jefferson Parish. We are very strongly opposed to Mr. Kaiser's release on parole. I spoke to the victim last week, who she is now 18 years old, and to her mother. Both are strongly opposed to parole. Both think that he needs to remain in prison until his full term date in 2029. They couldn't make it here today because her father had some kind of heart surgery or something just recently. So they weren't able to make it. Looking at his past record, he's admitted to having sex with a 14-year-old. He was charged in 2017 with possession of child pornography in Indiana and pled to sexual misconduct with a minor. Then in 2018, he was arrested on this offense. I'm not going to get into the details of the pictures that were sent, the requests that he was doing, but suffice to say, this is a horrible crime. I think his record indicates he's a sexual predator, he's a pedophile, and he needs to remain in jail for his entire sentence. Thank you.
We appreciate your input. I think the panel is prepared for that. Mrs. Ledoux?
And this has been an excellent interview with you. You've done a great job communicating what you've learned and your remorse and your self-awareness. Brent, sometimes it's just not in your best interest to be released. And today I'm going to deny your parole. I think that you need just a little bit more time to mature. I think the awareness of what you've done is going to motivate you to be an excellent person when you are given the chance to go back home. But today, my vote is to deny.
Mrs. Stapleton?
Trent, I was glad to hear your victim accountability statement where you actually put your daughter's face on your victims. That's one of the most important things about learning accountability, if you can make it personal. And the victim, if it were you or somebody that you loved, and you did go there. So I was very glad to hear that. But that aside, my vote today is to revoke based upon the nature of your crime and the age of your victims. Deny. I'm so sorry. Deny.
Right. And Mr. Kaiser, I agree with my colleagues. I think you're on the right track. I think you've got some work to do. And when you're finally given the opportunity to get out, I think you'll be a contributing member of society. But based on the opposition that we've heard today from the victim and the DA's office, my vote today is to deny your own. Good luck to you, Mr. Kaiser. Good luck to you.
Thank you, ma'am, and thank you for this opportunity.
And Ward Thompson, thanks for accommodating us. We're going to sign off at 10:58.
Thank you all as well. You give life the gate to you, man. You work every day. You work. My daughter's all that I need to put in right now.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. Turn on your notifications so that you know when I post the next one.